Skinheads. It's James Kalm, your half-assed reporter, and today we're coming to you from the Nassau County Museum of Art, and we're going to visit an exhibition titled Urban Art Evolution. Stay tuned. This is a very historical exhibition. This kind of is like my own journey down memory lane. I spent a lot of time in the East Village and knew many of these artists. Okay, we're going to start out looking at some work. This is a piece by Rodney Alan Greenblat titled Welcome Arch. This is from 1986. It's acrylic on wood with mixed medium, 121 by 124 inches. I actually met Rodney and kind of knew him peripherally, but this exhibition really presents him as quite a ambitious sculptor, and he had a real aesthetic that he was putting out there. We'll come in and sweep around the first gallery. I think this is kind of the fun side of the East Village scene. We've got a lot of Rodney's work, and Kenny Scharf, Mark Kostabi, Stephen Lack. This is Captain America, 1982. Got a nice Kenny Scharf sculpture here. This is bronze. And another early Kenny piece. I remember seeing his show at the Fun Gallery, and we'll get into that later. Also, Kenny was one of the movers in kind of the crossover between street art and gallery art. We've got some furniture by Rodney. It's one of the earliest Kenny Scharfs I've ever seen. That was supposedly in the Times Square show. This is a piece by Tom Otterness, who has got a lot of work from the MTA. Rodney from Gracie Mansion. More Tom Otterness, and I was having a discussion with some people that were wondering, how did this guy's career ever come back after he did the video of him shooting a dog? More Rodney. Strangely, I think some of these paintings are from maybe the early 2000s, which was years after Rodney was part of the East Village scene. I believe this is Peaceful Totem, 2004. More of Rodney's chairs. My dainty chair. Again, I think some of these paintings are from like 2020. This is a very ambitious piece. I actually also have to say that Rodney was one of the sculptors that really does combine painting, text, sculptural elements. It's even got electrical things in here, TV sets balanced on a scale. I think this is a Keith Haring, I could be wrong. More Rodney. It's like his little windows that he has in some of his structures. Very nice. And to Mark Kostabi, I know Mark, I've known him for years, and I think I prefer some of this early work to what he's doing now. We'll scan around the second gallery. I think this has got some of the street artists and graffiti writers in here. There's the fun refrigerator. This is a work by Martin Wong. This is a guy I knew and talked to, and we'd get into some crazy discussions. He's actually also one of the people that died of AIDS. It's a Lee Quinones painting. I think the Martin Wong was actually based on Lee Quinones driving a car. This is Fab Five Freddy, one of the graph writers, and I think he even had an MTV show where he talked about rap music and things. This is the refrigerator from the Fun Gallery. I used to hang out at the Fun. They actually offered me I could sign the thing, and I looked at it and I just thought to myself, there's no place for that. This is a silkscreen from Jean-Michel Basquiat. This is a great piece by John Crash Matos. It's 1985, The Art of Steel. And this is a piece by DAZE. It's actually kind of the logo of the show. It's on the cover of the catalog. Autumn Sleep. And we've got a couple of small Basquiat drawings. Unfortunately, I don't know whether they could, they couldn't get major Basquiats, but it's nice to see his works on paper like this. So David Vonarovich, and a large David Vonarovich. It's another one of the people that tragically passed away due to complications from AIDS. Great book, Fire in the Belly, about David, if you want to take some time and read that. Now we've got some pieces by Linus Coraggio. He was kind of known as one of the founders of the Rivington School, and aside from Rodney Alan Greenblat, one of the few sculptors in the show. A lot of his work was made out of stuff they would pick up on the street and weld together and hammer together. He had a garage that he worked at. I think it was called B2, because it was on 2nd Avenue and B. Here are some of the coats that were tagged, painted on. Nice Keith Haring leather jacket. Timothy Greenfield-Sanders did a whole series of portraits. 3 or 4 versions of the Irascibles, some of the young upcoming art stars there. A lot of these people have since passed away. I know about maybe half of those people. David Vonarovich, Keith Haring. A lot of these people were involved with the fun gallery. This is the Expressionist gallery, so we've got Richard Hambleton and some of his shadow figures. And another person that I've been looking at, talking to, thinking about painting with, Rick Prol. And this is the gallery that they talk about the kind of the anxiety, the dark side, the work that was influenced by the German Expressionists. I thought this was great, the way the painting just fits inside the molding inside above the fireplace perfectly. And you can go back in the files. I've got at least 2 or 3 reports dealing with Rick Prol and his exhibitions. And here's Richard Hambleton. Well, I always kind of had a problem with Richard Hambleton at one point, just because he was kind of so ambitious. This is a large Rick Prol painting. It's one of his little bit different. Normally he's doing his character that's kind of ragged and in a corner. This is his car wreck series, and I've heard people say that they thought this might be influenced by Philip Guston, kind of a new thing. And I didn't really start to appreciate Richard Hambleton's work for a long time, and then I saw something like this, and it's odd to see this in a museum, because obviously you can see that it's very ragged and kind of street scruffy. And there was always a performative aspect to his work that I guess I enjoy, because it relates to the abstract expressionists. And but it's strange to see this stuff that was sort of designed to be so temporary codified and put into a museum that's kind of been petrified under glass somehow. So we've got a lot of the photography here. This is Tsang Kwang-chi. He's one of the interesting photographers from the East Village scene. He always went on his little Chairman Mao outfit and kind of took pictures as if he was a Chinese tourist. And there's also a series of photographs by Martha Cooper, who was out on the streets doing a lot of stuff, not only photographing people but documenting graffiti artworks. It's Linus Coraggio with this welded steel. There was a whole series of Richard Hambletons with the cowboy pieces. I think he was riffing on Richard Prince in his Marlboro commercials. Keith Haring. And here we've got a wheat paste poster that was done by Christopher Hart Chambers when he was working with a group called Avant. That was their street action. Okay, here are some pieces by Judy Rivka. She was quite a star when I came to New York. This is Dondi White. Judy Glantzman, I think this is a portrait of Hal Brahm. It's more Linus Coraggio, one of his chairs. Now we're coming up to the pop shop part of the show. I was talking about how Rodney Alan Greenblat was one of the featured artists. I think Keith Haring, rightfully so, is also well established as one of the prime movers, and we've got some of his stuff. Also, one of the reasons I think Keith was so influential is because he was also an entrepreneur, and his imagery ended up being translated into so many commercial products, tote bags, t-shirts. They were talking about this as like a graffiti on a male figure, but I think that's George Washington, and it kind of plays off the idea of the graffiti and the transgression of marking things up against the idea of the founding fathers, maybe. Here's some more photographs by Martha Cooper, and there she is. There's Patti Astor. I think that was the Keith Haring show she had at the Fun Gallery. We're going to talk about that. We're going to have a memorial later. Little Angel 2, LA 2. Another one of the pioneering graffiti artists. Stephen Lack. Jane Dickson, who's been getting a lot of attention. We're going to hear about her later. We're going to paste this together with a Patti Astor memorial show. More Jane Dickson. We got a couple of pieces here by James Romberger. He's been in the East Village forever. Pieces dealing with the neighborhood. Kind of a nice little view from his window. There's a couple of works by Walter Robinson, and the catalog actually says that these are 2024, some of them. And I was wondering, okay, this is a print, well, actually a stencil multiples. I think it's using spray paint. But yes, Walter is pretty good. These are kind of based on pulp fiction covers that you might see at a 1960s bookstore, something like that. But Walter has done a very good job of rendering those forms, and really does have the feel of something from the 60s. I'm going to sweep over a lot of this. Some pieces by Eric Hayes. And a lot of work by Ronnie Cutrone. I think Ronnie worked for Andy Warhol, and you can see the influence. But he did have his own particular group of cartoon characters he liked. One of them was Woody Woodpecker. Tony the Tiger. Something about the Frosted Flakes are great. Kind of a nice, juicy colorist. This is Mike Biedlow and his imitation of an Andy Warhol. More Mike Biedlow. Mike has made a career out of kind of copying people's style, so that was his Pollock. Ronnie Cutrone again. Felix the Cat. Bugs Bunny. It's Carmen Miranda. In this last gallery, they actually have a warning up there that there might be offensive material in here. Hot stuff. Kind of like the way that Ronnie stuck together the cheap panels to put that together. James Brown, who is an artist who was associated with the East Village, and these are some of his prints, I guess. The inevitable has happened with the East Village. They've been accepted by the Academy now. Kylie Jenkins, someone I loved, knew I wrote an obituary for him in the Brooklyn Rail. You can go back, maybe I'll link that up. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of his work around that's available. And we're gonna finally end up looking at this Keith Haring. This is probably where they found the offensive material. Stay tuned, because we're gonna visit a memorial for Patti Astor, the lady that ran the Fun Gallery and gave so many of these artists their first shot at celebrity, also built a community. I think it would be fair to say that Patti Astor is the person that really did kick off the East Village. She had one of the very first galleries, the Fun Gallery on East 10th Street, and did so much to help the careers of all these people.
Patti was wearing 1940s outfit. Two-tone pumps, escorted by a gentle retriever. She struck quite a pose. To learn filmmaking, we made costume Super 8 films shot on the street. It was quite a scene. We were all dropped out. Me from Paris, 1968. Her from Colombia, 1968. She had been arrested in New York. I had been arrested in Paris. At the time, she was performing a street tap dance act with her Lindsay Kent-trained British boyfriend, Barnaby. Our days were consumed by taking drugs, listening to great music, going to see amazing movies at the Pacific Film Archive, the Kucher's Brother in the morning, the Brisky Point in the afternoon, and Pink Flamingo at midnight. In 1975, I joined Patti in New York, where we both enrolled at the Lee Strasberg Institute to become actors. She was fearless and bold when working on films with Amos Crowe and myself, appearing in Tina to achieve the tone and the emotion of the story. In 1980, the film ran at midnight for 6 months at the St. Mark's Theater on 2nd Avenue, before being broadcast on PBS Channel 13.
Moment of silence. Moment of silence. Think of the spirit of Patti. When the Fun Gallery closed, Patti came to find sanctuary at my 4-bedroom apartment on the Upper West Side, which I paid $400 a month rent for. It became my roommate for a while. And recently, Patti and I were close, always. Recently, we reconnected, and I told Patti about my plans. I was going to buy 100 acres in upstate New York with a private large pond or lake, and we were going to call the tribe together and just hang out together again. And it was going to be called Camp Fun. It was going to be free to attend. You had to have an invitation. Food was going to be free. We were going to put up tents for everybody. You didn't need to bring anything. And we're going to have a lot of painting supplies. And we were going to have the tents all painted, spray painted. We were going to have billboards put up that could be painted. I'm telling you, we spent hours and hours on the phone planning this event to the minute details. We were chuckling and chortling and sometimes falling out of our chair. This made us so happy because Patti and I are the same age. We had the same trajectory. I was pulled out of high school in 1968 by the state narcotics agents and handcuffed and brought to the police station and fingerprinted on some trumped up charge because I was running an underground newspaper. And I went to San Francisco and we had a cultural revolution going. And we were on the front lines. And then this neighborhood with cheap rent that we'd moved into was flooded with hard drugs, and we were all kicked out and were scattered to the winds. I went to Sweden for a while, but we found the scene again in the late 70s at CBGB's. And we started another revolution because the revolution had gone off the rails. See, people don't understand. The first hippies, we didn't call ourselves hippies, by the way, we called ourselves freaks. The hippie thing was like the beatnik thing, was made up by the media as a put down. But the thing was, the Ramones looked like the original hippies, with the exception, instead of the Cabretta Black Panther leather jackets, they switched to the Wild Thing Marlon Brando jacket, and that just like caught fire. It's like, we got to get harder. This image of us as like playing flutes and, you know, walking around in some daze, that's like wrong. That's not who we are. We're tough people. We had to go to the inner cities to survive. And it's not like they told you in Hair that came out in 1968. That was a wonderful fantasy, you know, but that wasn't what was going on. We were living in the streets in a ghetto. It was dangerous. There was a lot of big lessons in life going on with us, and we were struggling. We had no money, but we were taking care of each other, you know. So when I think of Patti, I think of Delacroix's Lady Liberty leading the revolution. Most people don't get to be in a revolution. Patti and me, we got to be in two of them, one in the late 60s and one in the late 70s. And it's like, if you know Delacroix's painting, Patti is Lady Liberty. She put the crew together that created a zeitgeist that went around and changed the world. And a lot of us didn't cash in, just a couple. And what people don't understand, it was about the scene. We were all part of it. We all carry that magic. So Patti and I were going to hold Camp Fun over the summer solstice, which is like next week. I was going to get the land, and we were just going to move there. And if you think I'm just making a pipe dream, I created base camp in Highlands, New Jersey, and built a miniature version. And I had a stage, a peace pole, it's all there. And if any of Patti's artists, any of these artists who painted here, want to come visit base camp for Camp Fun, please come to my private beach club in Highlands. I'll show you all the plans we made. It's crazy shit. And it's like, we were gonna have a boat race. I got Patti a boat. A single person sailboat. Patti is an amazing sailor. And she was gonna get the pole position at the race. She probably would have won. She's islands on the beach and see what it would be like to go around this lake. And at night there'd be LED lights everywhere in the forest, and we'd be able to ride bikes through the forest at night. And hey, if anybody from this generation, the magic generation that created the culture that went around the world, wants to get back together and share our energy one more time, or two, or three, or four, hey, check in with me and let's go build Camp Fun. I hail you, Patti Astor, Lady Liberty. Her spirit lives with us forever. And thank you to the Family Trust for this wonderful ceremony.
Hey there, everyone. We all know why we're here. It's super sad. You know, these outcomes are obviously not, sorry about that. Yeah, it's sad that we're here for this, obviously, but we also want to celebrate Patti's life. And I want to first thank everyone who organized this, got me out here. The family, very touching stories from the nephews. It's crazy. Couldn't imagine being Patti's nephew and Callie. When you're watching Wild Style, you were able to actually take ownership for that. That's super cool. Also, unpredictable outcome. As for me, I want to also acknowledge the artists that were part of the crew that Patti and Bill brought in, who are not here. Keith Haring, JMB, Kylie Jenkins, Dondi White, you know, a lot of people. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm like getting emotional, but it's really a blessing to be here, and of the unpredictable outcomes, Jane Dickson's doing quite well, oh, by the way. I think those words about not getting into the institutions, that might have been Greg Tate or someone else's comment at that time, but it's happening. Jane's an example. Once again, the tree of the fun tree. Could be fun camp, fun farm, and shout out to Kenny for, coming up with that whole casual attitude towards making art. And once again, I'm just so thankful to be part of that moment. Speak about I have to say maybe late 80, I met Patti, but certainly as we've spoken, and Fred and Charlie and everyone really, about the kind of genesis of it all with the filming of Wildstyle and the making in the year 1981 of that film. And that was a breakout year for everyone, and fun, but more specifically Patti and Bill, of course, were part of it all. So that's it. I could talk for hours about Patti, but thank you everyone for showing support and love. Of course we love Patti, and we love her contribution to our historical phenomenon.
I got a little story to tell about Patti. It was the last opening at Fun Gallery, and Huge was there, as was Fab Five Freddy, who tagged a metal subway car I did. By the way, I'm Linus Coraggio from the Rivington School. And so these guys were like first gen, getting their shows in the early 80s and shit, and I caught the tail end of that scene. And at that last opening, Patti was sort of putting stuff away in her desk, and I said, Patti, I'm doing this 3D graffiti street art. You think you'd give me a show? And she was like, yeah, sure, but the gallery's closing. And I was like, oh. I'm like, so what are you gonna do? And she said, I'm gonna go to LA and make films.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to say a few words about Patti? Is there anyone here? Thank you again, everyone, for being here. I know she would have really loved this. Her spirit is definitely over it. Thank you.
My name's Jim C., and the first place that I went to was Fun Gallery when I heard there was something going on. First place. And Keith Haring was there, Patti was there, and all these little kids were running around, boom boxes were blasting, and they were tagging up every place. And I said to myself, I've arrived, I've found my home.
All the legends. Snake, he's gonna come say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's so strange that me and Patti was supposed to work on a project, just myself and her, this weekend. We had planned it, and unfortunately, it will happen. It will happen. And we were great friends, and she was one of a kind. Let's put it that way, man. But hopefully, I'll continue working on the project, and I'll spread the word, when it comes out, man. Thank you, guys.
Is there anyone else who would like to say a few words? Hold on. We needed another female, so hold on one second. Thank you.
Yeah, man, Patti was a beautiful woman, and she believed in everybody, and she gave openings for everybody. So, woo! Go Patti, she'll live forever in my heart. Woo!
Anyone else would like to say anything? All right, I just want to thank everyone again. Thank you so much, Greg, for No, thank you, seriously, for allowing us to do this and working with us to do this. It's like, to be able to contribute in any way to the New York City celebration for Patti Astor is an honor. And thank you for being here and working so hard to make this happen. Thank you again, Charlie, Futura. Again, we have the after party on 3rd Street at 209 East 3rd Street, right on Avenue B. And I think, Jim, would you like to say something real quick?
Hey everybody, hello again. I just want to give a little information for everybody. You might notice some of these QR codes around those. You can feel free to scan and make a donation to the Best Buddies Foundation. That was one of the charities that Patti was championing in honor of her sister Annie, who had Down syndrome. So if you'd like to make a donation in her name, please do so. And to pick up where Snake was talking about, we were planning something around this time, around the Tribeca Festival for Patti. And so we were able to play some of her new work at the Angelica last night, which was a lot of fun, and it was something that she would have gotten a really big kick out of, and it was a huge honor. So I think that this momentum that we have here is going to take us forward as far as doing a larger exhibition for Patti Astor, Fun Gallery, Wild Style, and everything in between that she was associated with. So we could all be a part of that project if you are documenting this in any way and you'd like to share your photos. You can make sure you tag Patti Astor's Instagram. There's going to be an email address in her signature if you want to send anything special, video clips, messages, or photos from today, or from over the course of Patti's history. The family's managing the account, so we would love to be able to collect that in order to turn that into a larger project to continue honoring Patti for a retrospective that's going to be coming up later this year. So thanks again to all the artists, all the organizers, to Craig and Paul and James and all of you for coming to support this beautiful celebration of Patti Astor. So thanks everybody so much for coming.
Thanks, Marius.